The stars outside the viewport were pinpricks of light, distant and cold, yet they seemed to hum with a strange kind of promise. Captain Elias Straven stared at them, the hum echoing faintly in his ears, though the ship's systems were silent. He hadn't spoken to another human in weeks, and the solitude of his vessel weighed on him like gravity he couldn't escape. He had returned to this sector of space not out of duty, but out of a feeling he could not explain. A tugging in his chest that drew him back to a place humans had long since abandoned. The planet below rotated slowly, shrouded in thick clouds of iridescent gases that shimmered in violet and silver. From orbit, it looked like a jewel set against the black velvet of space, beautiful, but dangerous. Legends had circulated among explorers and traders about the ruins scattered across its surface. Some said the structures were remnants of a civilization older than humanity could imagine. Others claimed the ruins were haunted, that those who entered them never returned. Elias had heard every story, dismissed them all. Yet something in the quiet whispers of the universe had convinced him. He adjusted his seat and initiated the landing sequence. The ship hummed and shuddered, metals straining against gravity as he descended through the atmosphere. The sensors flickered with faint energy readings. They were weak, barely perceptible, but distinct. Something alive, something aware. Elias's pulse quickened. He had seen signs like these before, and he knew they were not ordinary phenomena. He gripped the control column tighter, a mixture of fear and anticipation tightening in his chest. The landing pad emerged from the clouds like a phantom, half buried in rock and crystal. It was old, abandoned, yet eerily intact. The airlock hissed as it opened, releasing a cloud of cold, recycled atmosphere. Elias stepped out, boots crunching on the crystalline surface. The planet smelled faintly metallic, almost sweet, like ozone after a storm. Shadows stretched long in the dim light, bending unnaturally across the alien architecture. The structures towered above him, crystalline spires glinting in impossible angles. It was beautiful, and it was dangerous. He knew that with one wrong step, he could vanish into the ruins forever. As he moved deeper into the structure, the faint glow of the crystals illuminated strange patterns carved into the walls, symbols that seemed almost alive, twisting and reshaping as he walked past. His communicator crackled, a distorted voice whispering in a language he could not understand. Yet in that moment, it felt almost like a welcome. His heart thumped loudly in his chest, a reminder that he was alive, that he was human, and yet he was acutely aware that he was not alone. Something watched him, silent and patient. From the shadows that clung to the walls, he rounded a corner and came to a vast chamber, the size of a stadium. Crystalline columns rose like trees from the floor, glowing faintly with an internal light. In the center stood a platform, elevated and commanding, and atop it was a figure unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Tall and elegant, her form was both alien and regal, her skin shimmering with subtle hues that changed as she moved. Her eyes met his instantly, and a chill ran down his spine. The air itself seemed to respond to her presence, vibrating with an energy that Elias could feel in his bones. She was the alien queen. She had been waiting. Elias stopped in his tracks, unsure whether to bow, flee, or speak. The queen tilted her head, studying him as if reading every thought, every intention. Then her lips parted, and her voice, deep and resonant, filled the chamber, not in sound, but directly in his mind. "So you came back," she said. The words were not a question, not an accusation, but a statement of acknowledgement. Elias felt the weight of them, the recognition that he was no longer just a visitor, he was expected. Fear clawed at him, but beneath it lay something stronger: determination. He had returned for a reason, though he could not yet see it clearly. The queen's gaze was piercing, yet not entirely hostile. There was a curiosity in her eyes, a sense that she had been waiting for something, someone like him. Elias took a cautious step forward, trying to steady his breathing. The chamber responded, faint ripples of light coursing across the crystalline walls, as if acknowledging his presence. He remembered the stories he had heard of humanity's encounters with alien species, of battles lost and planets abandoned. Humanity had survived not because it was the strongest, but because it never gave up, because it adapted, because it persisted even when the odds were impossible. He felt that same spirit now, burning quietly inside him, a steady flame against the vast darkness of space, and perhaps, he realized, that was what the Queen saw in him. "Why am I here?" he asked aloud, his voice echoing oddly in the chamber. The Queen did not answer immediately. Instead, she extended a hand, delicate and elegant, and a faint light emerged, tracing a path across the platform. Symbols floated in the air, shifting and forming images that showed glimpses of his past missions, his decisions, the choices that had defined him. It was as if she was not only seeing him, but understanding him, weighing his worth against some criteria only she knew. Elias felt both small and monumental at the same time. He was one human, alone against the vast intelligence of an alien queen, yet somehow that smallness mattered less than the determination within him. He could not explain it, but he felt a connection to the planet, to the chamber, to the Queen herself. It was a call that transcended fear, that transcended reason. He had been drawn back, and now there was no turning back. He took another step forward, voice firmer this time. "I came back because there's something worth understanding here, something humanity needs to know." The Queen's eyes glimmered, and for a moment, Elias thought he saw approval, or perhaps a test. The air shifted again, and the chamber seemed to stretch, as if preparing him for something greater. The Queen did not speak, but Elias knew that this encounter was only the beginning. What lay ahead would challenge every skill, every instinct he had, yet he felt ready. Above him, the crystals pulsed with light, shadows dancing across the walls like living memories of the past. The hum of the planet, of the ruins, of the Queen herself, resonated in his chest. Elias Draven, human explorer, stood alone, yet unafraid, at the threshold of a trial that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. And in that silence, in that moment, he understood one truth. Whatever awaited him, he had returned, and nothing, not fear, not doubt, not even the unknown, would make him turn away. The Queen watched him silently as Elias stepped onto the platform, his boots making no sound on the crystalline floor. The air seemed heavier now, vibrating with an energy he could feel in his bones. He had expected hostility, perhaps an attack, but there was none. Instead, there was observation, careful and deliberate, as if the Queen was reading his very essence. His heart beat faster, yet his mind was sharp. He had faced dangers before, in distant systems and hostile planets, but nothing like this. This was not a fight of guns or ships. This was a challenge of mind, of spirit, of who he was as a human. The Queen raised her hand slightly, and the chamber shifted. The floor beneath him became transparent, revealing a chasm of light that seemed to stretch into infinity. The walls pulsed with a soft glow, projecting scenes from his past. Missions he had led, decisions he had made, victories and mistakes intertwined. Elias felt a pang of vulnerability. The Queen could see everything, it seemed, yet she did not judge him harshly. She merely watched, silently evaluating. Suddenly, the platform beneath him tilted, sending him sliding toward the edge. He caught himself on the crystalline railing, the edge of the abyss yawning below. Panic surged, but he forced himself to calm down. He was human, and humans survived not because they were strongest, but because they adapted. With careful movements, he regained balance and took a cautious step forward. The Queen's gaze followed him, and a faint vibration hummed through the air. It was as if she was communicating without words, testing his reaction, measuring his courage. The chamber shifted again, and Elias found himself standing before a series of floating puzzles, crystalline shapes that rotated slowly. Emitting a soft light, symbols appeared on their surfaces, strange and alien, yet somehow familiar. He recognized patterns, connections. His mind raced, analyzing possibilities. These were not ordinary puzzles. They were tests, designed to measure not strength, but intelligence, adaptability, and perception. He reached out to the nearest shape, adjusting it carefully. The pieces clicked into place with a satisfying hum, and a section of the chamber floor opened, revealing a new path. Elias stepped forward, his heart pounding. Each trial grew more complex, each puzzle a step closer to understanding the Queen's intentions. He manipulated shapes, deciphered symbols, and navigated traps that required both precision and intuition. Every success made him feel more confident, but the Queen's gaze remained unreadable. He could feel her studying him, analyzing each choice. The weight of her attention was intense, but it also filled him with determination. He could not fail, not for himself, not for humanity. The next trial was unlike any he had faced. The chamber transformed, walls dissolving into a swirling vortex of images, sounds, and sensations. He was no longer just walking through a room. He was moving through memories and possibilities, each more vivid than the last. He saw humans fighting for survival, explorers stranded on hostile planets, and moments of quiet triumph and compassion. The Queen's voice echoed in his mind, not as words, but as a presence guiding him. Do you understand what it means to endure? To persist? Elias felt a surge of clarity. Humanity survived not because it was strongest, but because it could endure, because it could learn, adapt and care even when circumstances were dire. He focused, letting instinct guide him through the chaos of images. He made choices that felt right, decisions that balanced logic and empathy. The vortex pulsed around him, testing his resolve, and slowly, the images began to fade. He emerged on solid ground once more, breathing heavily, but victorious. The Queen approached, her movements graceful and deliberate. She extended a hand, and a projection appeared between them. Scenes of other civilizations that had risen and fallen across the galaxy. Elias recognized the pattern. Civilizations that relied solely on strength, on conquest, on power, had vanished. Those that endured, that adapted, that valued intelligence and compassion, had survived, though often in unexpected ways. The Queen's eyes met his, and Elias understood. She was not merely testing him. She was teaching him, showing him why humanity had survived this long, against forces far greater than itself. A new trial appeared, a room filled with alien machinery, devices that seemed to defy physics, glowing with energy he could barely comprehend. The Queen gestured, and a voice resonated in his mind. You must navigate this without harming what is not yours. You must choose wisely, for each choice has consequence. Elias approached cautiously. He had encountered alien technology before, but this was on another level. A single mistake could trigger defenses, collapse the structure, or worse. He took a deep breath, relying on observation and logic, rather than instinct alone. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Elias moved through the devices, carefully adjusting levers, rerouting energy flows, and observing the results. He made mistakes, corrected them, learned from each error. The chamber responded, shifting subtly with each success. By the end, he had activated a central console, and the machines hummed in harmony, lights flowing in synchrony. The Queen's gaze softened slightly. It was recognition not just of his skill, but of the human qualities he demonstrated: patience, resilience, and intelligence. The final challenge appeared as a mirror-like wall reflecting not his physical form, but his essence. Thoughts, fears, hopes, and memories projected outward, raw and unfiltered. The Queen's presence filled the room, her power undeniable. You have navigated the trials of mind, body, and spirit. Her voice resonated in his consciousness. Now, face yourself. Choose who you are and what humanity represents. Elias stared at the reflection. He saw fear, yes, but also courage. Doubt, but also determination. Mortality, but also potential. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or ships, but in choice, the ability to act, to endure, to adapt, and to hope even against impossible odds. With clarity, he nodded, silently affirming his commitment to these truths. The chamber shifted one final time, returning him to the platform where he first met the Queen. The abyss beneath him was gone, replaced by solid light. The puzzles and machinery had vanished. The air hummed gently, a sign of acceptance. The Queen studied him, her alien features unreadable, yet Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had faced her trials and emerged, not broken, but strengthened. You understand, she finally spoke, her voice echoing through his mind, calm yet commanding. Elias nodded. I do, he replied, voice steady. In that moment, a silent acknowledgement passed between them, a bridge forming between human and alien understanding. It was not friendship, not yet, but a recognition of potential, a recognition that humans, fragile as they were, had qualities worth respect in a galaxy of unimaginable scale. Elias left the chamber, walking through the glowing corridors, each step echoing with purpose. He had faced the alien queen's trials and survived. But more importantly, he had proven that humanity's strength was not measured by physical power alone. It was measured by resilience, intelligence, and the courage to act even when faced with the incomprehensible. As he exited the crystalline structure and stepped onto the planet's surface, he looked back once. The Queen watched from the platform, her form glowing faintly in the ambient light. Elias felt no fear, only anticipation. He knew the trials were not over. They had only just begun. Humanity had returned, and now the real challenge, the challenge of proving its worth to the universe itself, awaited. Above him the stars burned brightly, distant yet filled with promise. The hum of the planet, the ruins, and the Queen resonated in his chest. Elias Draven, human explorer, had faced the impossible and endured. And as he prepared for whatever lay ahead, he felt a quiet, unshakable certainty. Humanity would survive, adapt, and rise, no matter what the universe threw at it. Elias stepped off the platform and felt the air shift around him. The chamber he had just left was gone, replaced by an open expanse that stretched as far as he could see. Crystalline towers jutted from the ground like frozen lightning, their surfaces reflecting light in impossible patterns. The sky above shimmered with swirling colors, neither day nor night, as if the planet itself were alive and breathing. He sensed the Queen's presence nearby, though she remained unseen, her awareness filling the space like a quiet wind that stirred the mind. He took careful steps forward, alert to every movement, every vibration. The last trials had tested his mind and his patience, but he knew this next stage would test his heart and his courage. The Queen's challenges were not merely mechanical or mental. They were designed to uncover the essence of a being. Elias had to face more than puzzles and reflections. He had to confront the choices that defined humanity itself. The first obstacle appeared as a massive chasm stretching across the crystalline plane. Its edges were jagged, unstable, and glowing faintly with energy. Elias approached cautiously, assessing the gap. There were no bridges, no visible paths. The Queen's voice resonated in his mind, calm and deliberate. Your path is not given. You must create it. Elias scanned the surroundings, seeking anything he could use. The crystalline towers nearby seemed fragile, yet some had beams strong enough to support weight. Using a combination of strength, balance, and careful calculation, he manipulated the crystals, creating a makeshift bridge. Each step was perilous, and the gap threatened to swallow him if he misjudged. Yet he persisted, using ingenuity and courage to traverse the chasm safely. When he reached the other side, He felt a surge of satisfaction, not just for the accomplishment, but for proving that human creativity could overcome even impossible barriers. Beyond the chasm, the landscape changed. Elias entered a forest of translucent trees, their trunks twisting like ribbons, glowing faintly from within. The ground was soft, almost liquid in texture, and the air was filled with whispers, faint echoes of thoughts that were not his own. He paused, sensing that these whispers were a test of perception. They presented visions of despair, failure, and fear, humanity's darkest moments projected outward to confuse him. He focused, breathing steadily. He reminded himself that humans endured because they faced fear, not fled from it. He moved forward carefully, recognizing illusions and discarding them, trusting his instincts and the memory of his trials. One wrong step could have led him astray, yet he persisted, aware that the Queen watched, gauging his ability to endure mental and emotional challenges. The forest opened into a vast hall of light where a single figure awaited, a mirror image of himself, yet subtly altered. This was the Queen's most personal trial, a confrontation with the self. The reflection spoke, echoing Elias's thoughts, but twisting them with doubt. You are weak. You are fragile. You cannot survive what comes next. Elias felt a chill, but he remembered the lessons of the previous trials. Humanity survived because it chose to act despite doubt, because it refused to surrender to fear. He stepped forward, facing the reflection, and said aloud, I am not perfect. I may fail, but I endure, and I learn. That is how humanity survives. The reflection hesitated, its voice faltering. Elias reached out, and the mirror shattered, revealing a passage beyond, glowing with a soft, inviting light. The Queen's presence intensified, and he felt a subtle shift, a recognition of his resolve, a quiet acknowledgement that he had faced fear without yielding. The next trial was physical. He entered a cavern where gravity seemed to fluctuate unpredictably, pulling him in different directions. Crystal shards floated in the air like suspended stars, sharp and deadly. Elias moved carefully, testing each step, calculating his trajectory. He relied on instincts honed over years of exploration, combining precise movement with split-second decisions. Each step carried risk, yet he persisted, understanding that human strength was not only in muscle, but in adaptability and quick thinking. Midway through the cavern, a massive crystal fell from above, and he instinctively leapt aside. The Queen's presence made him aware of a subtle choice. He could push another shard into the path to stabilize his footing, but doing so might harm the delicate energy patterns of the chamber. Elias paused, weighing his options. He chose the careful path, using balance and ingenuity rather than force. The chamber responded, its light pulsing rhythmically, signaling approval. Humanity's intelligence and respect for life had been noted. Emerging from the cavern, Elias entered a serene field of light. It was quiet, almost too quiet, and he felt a sense of vulnerability. At the center, a crystal pedestal hovered, displaying a small, glowing object. As he approached, visions of humanity's history flickered across his mind. Wars fought, colonies established, moments of bravery, acts of kindness, and unyielding determination. The object represented a choice, a reflection of human potential. He reached out, and as his fingers brushed its surface, the Queen's voice filled his mind. Will you protect what you hold dear, or will you seize it for yourself? Elias hesitated only briefly. Humanity's history had been defined by both selfishness and selflessness, but it endured because it chose selflessness when it mattered most. He made his choice with clarity, protecting the object without attempting to take it for personal gain. The pedestal glowed brighter, and a bridge of light formed before him, leading to the final chamber. He walked along the bridge, feeling a sense of anticipation. The Queen awaited him there, fully visible now, her form radiant and imposing. Her eyes met his, and for the first time Elias felt the weight of her curiosity and assessment in full force. She extended her hand, and the chamber transformed into a visualization of the galaxy. Planets, stars, and civilizations swirling in dynamic motion. She spoke directly in his mind. You have demonstrated intelligence, courage, empathy, and resilience. Yet there is one final measure, the test of vision. Show me what humanity can become. Elias considered her words carefully. He envisioned humanity not as it was, frail and scattered across the stars, but as a species capable of remarkable creativity, of forging alliances, of enduring challenges that no one else could survive. He imagined humans reaching new worlds, solving mysteries, and building bridges across differences. He imagined not conquest, but collaboration, not destruction, but creation. He projected this vision, not with arrogance, but with clarity and hope. The chamber responded instantly. Light expanded outward, painting the walls with visions of human potential. Cities among the stars, fleets exploring distant galaxies, beings of different worlds working together. The queen observed silently, absorbing the images, her expression unreadable yet intense. Elias held his gaze, confident in his vision. He understood that humanity's true strength was not in domination, but in adaptability, empathy, and ingenuity. The queen's voice resonated finally, calm and deep. You have endured every test, yet it is your vision that defines you. Humanity is fragile, yet it persists because it chooses to act, to adapt, and to hope. You have shown what it can become. Elias felt a surge of relief and understanding. The trials were not just for him. They were for humanity itself, to prove that despite its apparent weakness, it possessed qualities worth recognition and respect among the stars. The chamber faded, returning him to solid ground. The glow of the crystal softened, and the swirling galaxy visualization dissolved. The queen's gaze softened, a subtle acknowledgement passing between them. Elias stood tall, aware of the weight of what he had achieved. He had faced trials that tested mind, body, and spirit. He had proven human ingenuity, resilience, and vision in a manner that even a being of incomprehensible power could not ignore. As he walked away from the chamber, the world around him seemed both familiar and alien. The lessons of the trials lingered in his mind, a quiet reminder that humanity's strength lay not in brute force, but in the choices it made, the intelligence it wielded, and the courage it displayed, even in the face of the unknown. He felt ready not only to face the Queen's next move, but to carry these lessons back to his species, to prepare humanity for challenges far beyond their understanding. The stars above twinkled with the same distant promise as before, yet now they seemed alive with possibility. Elias Draven, human explorer, had faced the impossible, endured the Queen's trials, and emerged stronger. He had glimpsed the potential of humanity, and he knew that whatever came next, they would not be insignificant. Humanity had returned, and its place among the stars was only just beginning to unfold. Elias walked toward the center of the glowing plain, the light of the crystals beneath his feet casting reflections in his eyes. The air was calm now, almost serene, but he could feel the Queen's presence behind him, patient and immense. He had survived every test, demonstrated human courage, intelligence, and vision, and yet a sense of anticipation hung in the air. He knew that this was the moment where understanding would be offered, where the Queen would reveal why humanity's return mattered. A low hum filled the space, resonating from the ground, the walls, and the sky itself. The crystals around him pulsed in response to the rhythm, and the planet seemed to breathe as if aware of his thoughts. Then, the Queen emerged fully into view, her form radiant and imposing. She moved with grace, every motion deliberate, her presence commanding, yet not threatening. Elias could feel the weight of her observation, the full measure of her attention. "You have endured," she said, her voice both inside his mind and in the air around him, carrying a resonance that made the ground beneath him vibrate subtly. "You have shown resilience, courage, intelligence, and vision, and yet, more than that, you have revealed something essential. Elias paused, uncertain, but he felt the meaning in her words. He had been tested not just to survive, but to reveal humanity itself, the essence that allowed it to endure despite its apparent fragility. The Queen extended her hands, and the air around them shifted, forming a vision of the galaxy. Stars, planets, and civilizations spun in complex patterns, their movements almost like a dance. Elias saw worlds rising and falling, some consumed by war, others thriving in cooperation and peace. He realized the Queen was showing him the consequences of choices, the fragility and strength of civilizations, and the importance of vision and action. "You returned when others would have fled," she said. "You returned not for conquest, not for glory, but because you felt there was something worth understanding."
This is the quality that defines your species. Humans are fragile, yes, but they endure because they act, because they learn, because they hope.
Elias nodded, feeling a swell of pride and humility. He understood that the Queen did not see humanity as insignificant. She saw potential, a spark that even civilizations far older than humans had overlooked or failed to nurture. The Queen stepped closer, her gaze fixed on him. "You have proven yourself, but more importantly, you have proven your people. There is a choice now. You may leave this place and return to your kind, bearing the knowledge that they are capable of more than they know. Or you may stay, learning, observing and preparing to take your place in the wider galaxy." Elias considered the weight of the decision. The first instinct would be to return to humanity, to share what he had learned, to guide them with this insight. Yet staying could mean gaining knowledge far beyond anything humans had ever possessed, knowledge that could secure their survival for generations to come. He took a deep breath, recalling the trials he had faced. Every challenge had reinforced a single truth. Humanity's strength lay not in the power of individuals, nor in their weapons or technology, but in their ability to endure, adapt, and act with courage and intelligence. That understanding had to be shared. The choice was clear.
"I will return," he said firmly. "I will share what I have learned."
Humanity must grow, must adapt, and must rise to meet the universe. That is the path they deserve. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded, a subtle movement that seemed monumental in its significance. "So be it," she said. "You have chosen wisely. The lessons you carry will shape not only your people, but the balance of this sector. Your return is not a failure. It is a promise." With a sweep of her hand, the crystals around him responded, glowing brighter and forming a portal of light that stretched toward the sky. Elias felt the pull of energy, a gentle yet powerful force guiding him toward his ship, toward the stars. As he approached the portal, images flashed before him, visions of humanity's future, potential paths branching infinitely. He saw humans exploring distant worlds, facing dangers unimaginable, forming alliances with other species, and building civilizations that reflected their courage, intelligence, and adaptability. The vision filled him with hope, a profound certainty that humanity's place in the galaxy was not predestined by power or might, but by character, ingenuity, and the choices they made. Elias stepped through the portal, feeling a surge of energy that left him light-headed yet exhilarated. When he emerged, he was standing back on his ship, the familiar hum of engines and life support systems welcoming him like an old friend. The stars outside the viewport were the same as before, yet they seemed brighter, filled with possibilities he had never seen. Humanity's future stretched out before him, vast and uncharted, yet not impossible. He initiated the launch sequence, the engines roaring as the ship lifted from the crystalline planet. Elias felt the memory of the Queen's gaze, of the trials he had faced, and of the lessons he had learned. She had tested him not to destroy him, but to show him, and through him, all of humanity, what they were capable of. They had survived against impossible odds not because of strength alone, but because they possessed something the galaxy often underestimated: resilience, intelligence, empathy, and courage. As the ship climbed higher, leaving the planet behind, Elias reflected on the journey. Every step, every decision, every trial had been a testament to human potential, He thought of the civilizations that had fallen, destroyed by hubris or weakness, and of humanity, small and fragile yet unyielding. He knew the responsibility that came with the knowledge he now carried. Humans would face countless challenges, many far greater than those he had seen in his lifetime, but they could survive, they could endure, and they could rise. The stars stretched endlessly before him, each one a beacon of possibility. Elias Draven, explorer, survivor, and messenger, set his course for home. Humanity awaited, and he carried with him a promise that no matter how fragile they seemed, they had within them the strength to endure, to grow, and to shine among the stars. The Queen's final words echoed in his mind, a quiet reminder of the trials and the recognition they had earned. You returned, and in doing so, you have proven what it means to be human. Carry this knowledge and let it guide your people. Elias smiled faintly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders and a fire ignite in his chest. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as pawns, but as a species capable of remarkable endurance and vision. As he set the ship on a steady trajectory toward human space, he knew the universe would watch, but humanity would not be insignificant. They would rise, adapt, and endure, and one day, perhaps, the stars themselves would recognize the quiet, unyielding power of the human spirit. The journey had ended, yet it had only just begun. The trials had proven what he already knew. Humanity's true strength was not in its weapons or its numbers, but in its courage, its wisdom, and its choice to act when it mattered most. Elias stared out at the stars, a calm certainty in his heart. The alien queen had seen the essence of humanity, and she had acknowledged it. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown dangers and incredible wonders, yet he knew humanity could meet them. They were resilient, clever, and capable of hope beyond comprehension. Humanity had returned, and with knowledge, courage, and vision, they would not only survive, they would thrive. The stars burned brightly ahead, distant yet full of possibility. Elias Draven, human, explorer, and witness to the universe's great truths, guided his ship home. Behind him, the crystalline planet faded into darkness, a silent testament to the trials and lessons that had reshaped him. Ahead, the future stretched endlessly, and humanity would rise to meet it no matter the odds. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of human eyes, the alien queen observed, a faint pulse of light marking her presence, acknowledging a species small in size but vast in spirit. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy had taken notice.